Alf, Sports Card Hobby Family, we've got some pretty sweet new tech out from PSA that I want to show you. We're actually going to do it on my phone. I took a screenshot and showed exactly how this new technology is going to really help collectors slash speculators slash investors in this space. This is a really big deal. So I'm excited to go over this, and we are going to talk about the grading numbers for February, some interesting data there as well. Before I dive in, huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Pristine Auction. If you're looking for all the things, whether it be pop culture, sports cards, non-sports cards, sports memorabilia, they've got stuff, all the goodness all the time, and there are daily auctions, 10-minute auctions, weekly, monthly elite auctions, all sorts of great stuff. So make sure to check out my links down below to take you to Pristine Auction. There is a promo code to save off of your first auction victory. Also, we will be talking about PSA today, and grading is getting more expensive. If you've never subbed with them, $25 off your first submission, SCD25 code at the shipping and billing screen, only a 1 card minimum to try out PSA, and it's 25 bucks off. All right, we've already seen PSA and the eBay integration where for a lot of listings, I don't think it's for all of them yet, but for a lot of listings, when you're shopping on eBay, it will cross over and show you the PSA population counts, which again, while you're shopping on eBay, does give you more information to help you make a good buying decision when you're buying a graded card and trying to figure out what's the population report for the graded card and so forth. So that's a really great integration. Well, they've really stepped up the app now, and I tested it out with a few cards I'm going to show you. And the one thing I want to reference too is I only took a picture of the front. You can do front and back, and I didn't take great pictures. The lighting was actually crappy. Actually, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and roll it and show you exactly how this new feature works. Okay, so what we've got here as we first go into the app is you can see actually my bulk order is there with them in research and ID, and there's a scan a card button down there below. I've got 3 cards that we're going to look at today. Look at a Reggie Jackson card. You can scan the front only or the front and the back. I just did the front only, and there it is. It pulls up 1986 Topps, number 700 Reggie Jackson. Click over there, and look, you've got pricing information as far as raw copies are concerned, then also got pricing there for PSA graded cards, PSA 7, PSA 10. It gives you the population information. This, of course, really important information to be able to make a solid buying decision. If you're buying this raw and you're trying to figure out, okay, does it make sense? Does it look good enough to get a 9 or a 10? And then, of course, checklist there. That's nice to have. I'm curious to see how they do this on modern sets. That'll be interesting, but pretty cool that you've got a checklist, full checklist of the set. And then, of course, you can shop there directly. So all in one spot, you can scan a card, check the pricing, historical pricing too, for different grades. You can check population, and you've got a full checklist there for the Reggie Jackson. $371 for the PSA 10. Of course, as you move down in the grades, it's going to get pretty inexpensive there. There's not near as many PSA 10s. Very hard to get that, from, especially just going back to 1986. Sending those in now to try to get a 10, brutally tough. Brutally tough. And so that's the Reggie. So now we go with the Pro Set Bill Belichick card. I'm taking a horrible picture, but doesn't matter. It still finds it. Now, one thing I'll give feedback to PSA, they've got the wrong picture there. So the information's correct. It's got the 91 Pro Set, number 126 Bill Belichick, but it's showing a Darryl Spencer picture, showing the wrong picture there. But the data's correct. So when you scroll down, you can see that PSA graded copies are selling at $10, $9. You can go to the population to figure out how many 10s there are, how many 9s, 8s, and so forth. All in one shot here without having to go back and forth. Set, again, you've got the full set, 91 Pro Set, which is pretty cool, especially for set collectors that might be trying to figure out, okay, what other cards are there, other Bill Belichick cards, or there other Browns cards that I want. You can very easily do that. And then, of course, you can shop directly through the PSA site on eBay. It is all integrated. Last but certainly not least, it's my boy Drew Brees. We've got a 2007 Topps Chrome. It's the TC116 refractor right there. And again, when you're looking at a raw card there, you can see, okay, what does a PSA 10 sell for? What's the best case scenario? Right there, there's one that sold, granted it was last year, but $66 for a PSA 10. These are not easy to get 10s on. Again, just because you're going back, 15 plus years. Gives you an idea of historical pricing. It can go down though to 2 weeks, show you 2-week pricing, 6-month pricing, 3 months. So you can try to get a better idea of what is what here. I just think this is really critical. Again, you've got pricing, population, checklist, all in one space. I think that's, incredibly valuable for collectors. I don't see any sort of downside to having all of this information in one place. And again, if you're someone buying raw cards and you're not familiar with current pricing, this is a very easy way to be able to quickly, without having to go to 3 different websites, track everything out. So again, it looks pretty seamless. They're going to have to work out some of the kinks. You did see where I went to go scan the Bill Belichick card and it pulled up a baseball card for the picture, but the information was correct. When I clicked on the Pro Set Bill Belichick rookie card, it did display the correct information as far as the pricing and the population. But the fact that you can now scan a card and get a nice glance, actually pretty full view of what does a PSA 10 sell for, a 9 sell for, this is huge. This is extremely helpful information when you're looking at raw cards. I'm just thinking about all the people that are out there at shows that are trying to buy raw cards to grade. And now you just have all that information at your fingertips. You don't necessarily have to, okay, we got to go over to PSA and check the population. Now we got to go to eBay and check the sold listings. You have all of this kind of in one shot. And of course, PSA does offer the ability to go onto eBay and buy cards directly through their app. So this is a huge upgrade for collectors. I don't see a downside here. More information is always better. And again, just the convenience of having it all in one spot there is really huge. So I'm definitely going to be using that as we move into the future. Let's look at their grading data. PSA's grading data, PSA and the big four, the other companies, CGC, Beckett, and of course we've got SGC mixed in there as well. Really strong data across the board. The number that does pop out though, again, PSA at 1.44 million cards in 19 business days in February. Keep in mind, this was 5% more than what was graded in January, and there were 21 business days in January. So 2 less business days, more cards graded in February. It's wild, insane, the capacity that they have moved up to. Again, we talked about this going back in time, going back a few years when Nat Turner took over, and there was literally like warehouses full of submissions, and they were backlogged by, I think, 15 million cards. They are backlogged right now. My submission actually is taking longer than I thought it was going to. I'm sure that they'll get it turned around here shortly. Other part of this information that I think is really interesting is the growth of TCG grading. Now, what I will say is, it makes sense to me as I've gotten more into the TCG side, the Pokemon side in particular, on my second channel, Collectibles Dad, YouTube. Check it out if you'd like for the Pokemon talk. But there seems to be quite a bit of arbitrage potential. Now, those short-term, buy raw to grade and sell Pokemon. PSA 10 Pokemon cards sell strong, the same way they do in sports cards, and there are a lot of opportunities there. And PSA graded 25% more TCG than they did last month. All the other companies were down a little bit, but still graded strong numbers. But 771,000 TCG, most of that is going to be Pokemon. And then you have, of course, I think 670,000 or something on the sports card side. Tremendous numbers. But man, if you go back a couple years, that was not the case. This has happened over time where TCG now this month has become the largest part of PSA's business. That's a big change going back a few years. It was not that way. But this is something that's really contributed to PSA's overall growth. And CGC. CGC being primarily a TCG grader, and it's a lot of that is Pokemon cards. That is really where they've kind of gotten a foothold there. We'll have to see if that continues on, if there's still a lot of momentum there for TCG. But I don't want to discount the momentum for sports cards either, because there has been an absolutely tremendous amount of cards graded. This was an all-time high again. We keep on kind of breaking that record. That this was an all-time high at 1.93 million cards between the 4 companies. And that's not even including other grading companies that are out there as well that people use. So if you include those, we're talking about over 2 million cards that were graded last month. It's wild. And to be honest, I did not anticipate to see this continue to grow this way. I know in PSA's case, The other part of this story is that they are growing out into Europe and Asia. And so if that global momentum keeps going, it's easy to see how they will be able to top out over 2 million cards eventually because of the exposure over there overseas. And I believe they'll be the only game in town as far as the big four goes. If we're talking about going into Europe, broadening out in Asia, they're going to be kind of that big name that's out there, the number one volume grader right now, and that's not going to slow down at all. It doesn't look like. So friends, let me know. Are you still grading? Have you saved some money on the code? If you've been thinking about grading, SCD25, again, takes $25 off that first order. Grading is not cheap, so make sure that you at least get that 25 bucks off. Friends, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome. I'll talk to you again later.